Hello everyone and welcome back to Trans Am for the final round of Season 5. This is round 6 at Spa. Let's take a look at the championship standings before we get into this one. Slash leads the way ahead of Ash and Jester, with Grenster also in championship contention. It is more or less a winner takes all situation between Ash, Gren and Slash. Ash will need a triple star, the only caveat to that. But it will be more or less a race to see who can finish first between them. The winner will be the champion in most scenarios of how this race could play out. Jester is mathematically in contention, but will definitely need a triple star performance and a lot of bad luck for the other three contenders, and hope they finish all outside the top 5 or 6, or even worse in some cases. So yeah, that is the situation for those still in title contention. Everyone else just out here racing for fun and hoping for some good results. So here we go then for qualifying. We're going to be driving the Chevy Chevelle for this one, the car that has burst onto the scenes this season and really taken Trans Am by storm in the opening rounds, taking the first 3 wins. But to be honest, when I jumped in this thing, I wasn't really too impressed, and it took me a long time to get used to it and to actually, drive it consistently. And even so, I'm still struggling. And before the race on this day, I had 2 setups for the car, and I could not for the life of me remember which one was the good one. So for qualifying, I actually put the wrong setup in. This one has stock suspension, which around the track itself is fine, but when we get to Eau Rouge, it is not good. It just cannot handle it on stock suspension. So yeah, that was my biggest issue in qualifying, but we'll see if we can manage that. But yeah, let's see how it goes as we head up Eau Rouge for the first time. And the car just snaps, wobbles in every direction, back it into the wall, and yeah, that was a disaster. So we reset, did another outlap, absolutely made a mess of turn 1, and we're going to continue on with this lap because we do need to get a lap in, and just hope that we can make up for any lost time. Going to take it a little bit more carefully through Eau Rouge and Raidillon this time. Cut the corner there a lot, but I was really just trying to be as minimalistic on the steering as possible, not to upset the car. But yeah, that meant we had to take a very straight line through a very bendy part of the track. So we cut the inside of Eau Rouge Raidillon complex there, but we've got a penalty for that. It shouldn't affect us in terms of getting the lap in, because the penalty line's much later in the lap than when we had this issue last time at the Nürburgring. So we should be able to serve the penalty and the lap will still be valid. So we will get a lap time in. That's the main thing I want to do, even if it's not a completely clean lap, just to get a reference point, I suppose, because yeah, I've been having a world of issues with this car, a bit like I was with the Corvette. And on that note, I have to say thank you again to Jester for helping me set this thing up. The setup wasn't quite as comfortable as the Corvettes, and I did tweak it a little bit further, but it was certainly an improvement over the stock suspension. So thanks again, Jester, absolute legend of the series and creator of the series. But anyway, let's focus on the rest of our lap. We are coming up to the penalty line in a couple of corners time. The lap time's going to be no good because the lap just overall has not come together very well, but we'll see what we can do anyway and get that lap on the board, because it seems some are struggling. Gren is still behind us and we don't have a time on the board, so Gren definitely doesn't have a time on the board, and both Sparrow and Ferbs are in pit lane, so they're not setting lap times either. So with the timer already ticked down to 0, this could be enough to cement this position for us and potentially equal our best qualifying of the season, almost by default with this one. So we'll see what we can do as we come around the final corner and put some power down to the line, and it's going to be a 38 flat, 2 minutes 38 flat to lock in P5 for us. And Gren is done with no time, so Gren invalidated every single lap that he tried to do, and will be starting in P6, and the streak of never starting on the front row continues for another round. But will the podium streak continue from a lowly starting position for the driver that is in hot contention for the championship? It's not an ideal way to start the final round. But looks like Slash in the Mach 1 might be starting on pole position. Uncle Pete's on course for a personal best, and is almost guaranteed a personal best qualifying result at this point with P4, which is also a great result for the Mach 1. I was just saying last episode it had never qualified higher than 6th. Now we have 2 in the top 4, including 1 on pole. So this is potentially a breakthrough round for Trans Am's least successful car, a pole position, and another car in 4th. And of course Jester did get the fastest lap back at Track and Trail in that car, so it is coming alive this season after being more or less dormant for the last 4. So we'll see. But anyway, in terms of setups, we are going to switch to the other one. Ironically, we use the setup called Race in qualifying, and we're using the one called Quali in the race, but those names have no bearing on when I plan to use them. It was just what I happened to last be practicing with those setups. But anyway, we're actually very low in our performance points at the moment. So yeah, I'm not really sure why that is. We are at max power. We're not at minimum weight, but I decided to keep the full ballast on the rear just to hopefully make the car a bit more stable and give me that 50-50 weight distribution, which should hopefully be good for the tyres and not just destroy the front tyres, which can definitely happen. So we'll see how things go. But we are now ready to get going for the final round of the championship. 8 of us here on the grid for Season 5, Round 6, and it's Slash on pole position, starting on the soft compound tyres to get a rocket ship launch off the line. Jester starts out of P2 in the most colourful car on the grid on the hard compound tyres. Ash starts P3, also on the hards. Uncle Pete, a personal best qualifying effort, will start P4 on the hard compound tyres. P5 for myself, and in fact everyone else further back also on the hards. But we've got Hermes and Hestia on the car for this final round, the final 2 of the 12 Olympian gods and goddesses. Grenster starts out at P6, a lowly starting position for the championship contender. And then P7 is Ferbs, and rounding off the grid we've got Sparrow. Those last 3 not setting a time in qualifying. So that's how we all line up for the final round of Trans Am Season 5, the championship decider. Lights are on, and we're underway for Trans Am Season 5, Round 6 at Spa. And it's an alright launch for us. We immediately get past Uncle Pete up into P4 towards Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time. We're very slow through here though. After the eventful time we had there in qualifying, I was very cautious with this setup. I didn't know what to expect, and that's cost us a bunch of places already. I tried to keep it as pinched to the inside as possible because I knew I was going to be slow there. And yeah, we've lost out, dropped into P7, but that's not a bad thing because right now I just need to work out if this setup is going to be any good. So I want to be a little bit cautious throughout this first half a lap or so until we know what we're working with, and there's a bit of a snap there. And that's definitely a difference between the setups. I noticed straight away I had to be a lot more careful on the power with this one. But as we see Ferbs go sailing around the outside into Rivage, we drop into last. But yeah, once I did get a handle on this setup, it was definitely better than what we had in Quali. So it's just a matter of getting used to it and the differences between them. But a replay of the start then, and of course, as expected, Slash got off to an absolute blinder and just disappeared up the road towards turn 1 and went racing up the hill already with probably more than a second back to Jester and Ash, who are fighting it out for P2. great start for Slash, and exactly what he would have needed to stay in the title fight. And with a different strategy, it's always a risk. It's always makes it hard to manage in terms of strategy. Hard to know where everyone else really is, where you really are compared to them. But at the moment, Ash is being a little bit held up, and so is Gren behind Jester. Ash is looking to the inside as Jester goes a bit deep, and a big slide there for Jester. That's going to allow Ash through down the inside. Gren's looking as well, and Gren also gets through. So now the title contenders fill the top 3 spots, and Jester slots into P4. So an early mistake there cost Jester 2 places. Here's the big slide on replay. Good job to catch it, but that has cost a couple of spots there for Jester. Here's the replay on board with Ferbs, where I had my little moments just before that, and Ferbs was able to get through around the outside. We were very slow off of Malmedy there. Here's the onboard with Ash, already looking to the inside of Jester. Jester went deep, turned it in, and the rear wheels just didn't follow. Ash was able to sneak through down the inside. Gren very quick to take advantage of that as well, and did a very good job to sneak through along with Ash. So that's critical championship moves there for these two. And here's another one. Gren looks to the inside of Ash towards Blanchimon, and side by side they go all the way through, and great respect given there between the two of them. Grenster gets the move done and up into second position as we go on board with Sparrow just in behind Uncle Pete. Pete goes a bit wide there, and Sparrow is going to get through as Uncle Pete lifts out, coming back onto the track. Back on board with myself as we head into the bus stop. Let's see as we go a little bit deep there. Still trying to get used to the braking with this car, this setup. But we're going to make our way into pit lane at the end of the first lap and get rid of these hard compound tyres. And yeah, try for something a little bit more grippy. We'll see how the mediums go. It's worth noting as well that we have a very high tyre wear rate for this race, so softs might not always be the way to go. Anyway, back out on circuit, we've got Ash heading through turn 1, Jester able to get underneath on the exit, and these two and others choosing to battle on the hard compound tyres. So the tyre wear is that serious that there are quite a few drivers considering a longer stint on the hards rather than the usual 1 lap. Sparrow in the back there as well, carrying on as we see Ash tucked in behind Jester now, not able to get close enough to make the move, and opts to just give Jester a bit of a push instead along the straight. But of those who stopped on lap 1, Grenster is going to switch to the medium compound tyres for the next stint, and the same story for both Ferbs and myself, all switching to the medium compound for the next, well, however many laps they last, I suppose. It's a bit of a guessing game at the moment, but anyway, we've got Sparrow heading through Rivage, a little bit wide there. Uncle Pete getting involved as they're going to start fighting through No Name Corner, and on the exit looks like Uncle Pete's been able to get the run, and we'll get through on Sparrow, maybe into Puon. Uncle Pete down the inside gets through, and Sparrow has to slot in behind, and that is a position gain there for Uncle Pete. So nicely done. Sparrow will have to try to fight back at a later time. Anyway, we've got Ferbs and Gren. Ferbs actually jumped Gren through the pit stop cycle there. Grenster, though, will get back through along the Kemmel Straight and get that one done nice and quick. So Gren back in clean air, and Ferbs slots in behind. We will finally get out of pit lane ourselves as well. We've got a 1% per second fuel refuel rate as well for this round, which is half the normal speed that we've got in Trans Am. So yeah, we really do need to take care of tyres and fuel because combined with the long pit lane here, and I think even a longer pit stop animation for changing tyres, from what I can tell, there is a lot of time to be gained by trying to minimize pit stops. But anyway, we'll see how that pans out across the course of the race. That is Uncle Pete having a moment at the exit of Stavilo, and Sparrow will get back through there. Wild stuff from Uncle Pete there, but as always, able to save it. Meanwhile, Jester is out exploring the wild stuff in the grass there, and Ash gets through. So Jester drops a spot as Ash moves past. So the two demon-swapped chargers switching places there. Meanwhile, back on board with myself as we're having a bit of a moment through that same corner. Just a little bit caught up on the curbs and the grass and everything else that can be found there. We found it all, and yeah, we're struggling at the moment. Just getting up to speed with this car hasn't been easy for me for whatever reason. I don't know. It's been a very successful car this season, but it's just not working for me. For whatever reason, just doesn't suit my driving style. I don't know, but I don't fully feel comfortable driving it in the way I would say, you know, even the Superbird. I feel very comfortable driving that car, even though it's horrible. So yeah, it's really strange. But anyway, we'll carry on, and over the course of 2 hours we will try to improve. But with weather coming up later, the other thing as well, which I think is causing me issues, and you'll notice in the bottom right I've changed the brake bias all the way forwards. My rear tyres are getting destroyed, so I've moved my brake bias all the way forwards to basically try and destroy the front tyres intentionally and try and bring them back into balance. Because when you've got dead rear tyres and half decent front tyres, that is the worst combination. Anyway, a change of position there as Grenster makes the move on Uncle Pete, and nice easy one there down to turn 1. Gren gets through and starts moving through the field once more, and has already made up somewhat for pitting on the first lap to get rid of the hards, overtaking Uncle Pete, who still uses those tyres. But anyway, into the pits now then comes Slash at the end of a very hot stint on those soft compound tyres, and has absolutely driven away from the field. Of course, everyone else on the hards was, behind was going to be slower, but that was a very good stint from Slash. So good that after the pit stop, Slash comes out still in the race lead, but now on the hard compound tyres and has to do the minimum requirement of a lap on those tyres. So yeah, we'll see how that goes for Slash. But yeah, the fact you can make up for more than that hard tyre stint as we hit the wall through Radion there, not ideal, but these things happen when you're driving a car that doesn't fully cooperate through that corner still. But yeah, like I was saying, Slash completing the lap on hard compound tyres. Will now come into the pits and probably refuel and take some medium tyres for the next stint. So a very good opening stage of the race for Slash, just keeping it consistent out in front, putting in some very good lap times, and yeah, just leading laps and trying to get away from the field. But the chasing pack will come as the inevitably the less grippy tyres will come for those who chose not to use them earlier. Grenster makes the move on Sparrow in the meantime, and moves up another position. So Gren making good use of medium tyres and passing those who still run the hards. Slash though, now out of pit lane, has dropped well down the order on medium tyres now for Slash. So yeah, that's the situation at the moment. For us, our medium tyres have really done all they want to. They could probably go further, but it's not so much the tyre wear, it's the imbalance in the tyre wear that's causing me problems. So all that extra weight of the ballast on the rear is probably not doing me any favours. I kind of thought it would be the other way around, and if I didn't have it, the front tyres would get cooked, but that's really not happening, and quite the opposite. So that's something I need to try to adapt to. The problem is though, I can't fully move the brake bias forwards, because the more forward the brake bias is, the harder the car is to manage through Eau Rouge. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a balancing act. I might even need to be changing it at several points around the lap, which gets a bit tricky, but we'll see. Anyway, we've finally filled up with fuel. That was about 50 seconds or so, maybe more, skipped just there between just under a half full tank and almost a full tank. So it is a very slow refuel rate, but anyway, we come back out on track. We're still, of course, down at the back of the field, but now with some soft tyres on the car, let's see what we can do on these. No weather on the radar just yet, but I'm sure that will come soon enough. But yeah, we're surviving okay. A few little issues here and there, but there's a lot of learning for me to do in this car. And as Ash and Jester pull off into the pits, we'll see what tyres they choose to go on to. Gren coming into the pits as well after that medium tyre stint. But anyway, into the box comes Ash, and Ash will switch to the soft compound to the medium compound tyres rather, and same story for Jester in behind. Jester moving on to that same medium compound. Gran, having just used those mediums, will be switching on to the soft compound tyres, and might have a chance to chase down those two throughout the next stint. Meanwhile, back on board with myself as we're running out very wide through Rivage, but as we've got some rain approaching in the top left corner of the weather radar, our pace actually at the moment isn't too bad. We've got a couple of cars in front of us, and when we're not making mistakes like we were just a moment ago, we can keep up all right as we go on board with Grenster out of pit lane. That looked like cutting the pit exit line there, and it indeed was, and Grenster picks up a 3-second time penalty for cutting that exit line. It's a very tricky pit exit, probably one of the hardest we've ever had to deal with, and Gren picks up the penalty for that. Ash as well is out of pit lane along with Jester, and they all resume racing once more. Gren also managed to jump Jester and Ash in pit lanes, so he won't need to make those overtakes on track. Anyway, we did have Pete and Ferbs in front of us. They both went diving off into the pit lane, so that gives us some fresh air once more. They were on old hard tyres, but it was good to be able to keep up with them for a while and just have a bit of a reference point in front. Sparrow was the first, though, to dive into the pits on that lap, though, so Sparrow moves on to another set of the soft compound tyres, and further back in the pit lane, Uncle Pete comes in, and we'll switch to a set of the medium compounds. So as we saw before in the previous round, Uncle Pete doing stints on both of the harder available compounds. Ferbs in as well onto soft tyres, and Slash in as well, also to move on to soft compound tyres. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting race strategically to see who uses softs and mediums at what times. But as the rain now comes down, we have some tricky conditions to work with, and some somewhat worn soft tyres. So I'm not sure. Maybe we might box just to get some good tyres on the car, but we'll see. Slash comes out of the pits though and drops into P4. Sparrow comes out of the pit lane next. Sparrow drops into 5th position on the pit exit, so losing out to Slash through that pit stop cycle, but staying ahead of Uncle Pete and Ferbs, who are still making their way out of pit lane. Ferbs is next out of the lane, shortly after, followed by Uncle Pete, who drops into P7 on those medium compound tyres. It'll be interesting to see how they perform in the wet weather for Uncle Pete and others that are choosing to use them. A moment for us though into the Fania chicane, and yeah, that's just a awkward spin there on the way into the corner, and yeah, I think again it's the rear tyres. You can see I'm struggling everywhere to be able to put any power down, to be able to put the car on even on the lines I want to. And actually, well, speaking of that, again I have to give out another thank you, this time to Granster, for showing me how to drive in the wet around here, and around circuits in general. But yeah, it's something I didn't really know that there was a specific technique for. But anyway, that certainly helps. Helped here and helped explain, you know, things that happened earlier in the season, both good and bad. So, thank you, Grenster, absolute legend. Anyway, as we head through Puon, a big moment there, spinning off we go into the barriers, and that is a massive crash for us. And we have severely damaged the car. We're driving very wonky as we head back towards the circuit. But yeah, that really came out of nowhere. That very much took me by surprise. And let's see if we can diagnose exactly what went wrong there. But yeah, we just had a slight bit of oversteer, tried to correct it, and the car just went right. The front tires gripped up, the rear tires, you know, quite worn out at the moment, you know, more than the fronts, and just, yeah, overcorrected into the wall. Here it is from another angle, and we just touched that wet curb. And that's all it took. Sent us spearing into the wall. When we tried to correct it, the front tires still had a lot more grip than the rears, and off she went. So, yeah. Ouch. That was a big one. And here it is on board. We're slowing it right down to see how it goes, because as you can see, all nice and smooth through the first part of Puon, but just drifted over to the right, opening up the second half a little bit more, and yeah, got onto the wet stuff, and straight round it went. Absolute passenger for, you know, the moment we tried to overcorrect it, well, we tried to correct it, overcorrected, and yeah, that was it. Ouch. Big crunch, and big damage from that. So, that's unfortunate, but anyway, we'll carry on. That's going to be an immediate pit stop though. We're not fighting anyone in this race anyway, so it doesn't really matter at this point what... ow, that's not good! And we've made things even worse for us. A pit entry, understeer into the outside wall, pinball to the inside, and yeah, that's just been a whole mess of a section there for us. But anyway, worn tires, wet track, heavily damaged car, and that just all compounded at once at the entry to the pit lane there. But anyway, what tyres are we going to go on to? I think we'll choose the mediums. The tyre wear is very bad for us, especially on the rears, so hopefully on the medium tyres we can manage that a little bit better. I might need to go for a super aggressive front brake bias just to keep the tyre wear balanced, even if that does negatively impact the performance of the car in terms of the stability, especially at Eau Rouge. The front brake bias is not good there, but anyway, yeah, really not good. Chester Ash got a great view of that as well, but yeah, it's been a mess, this race so far. So yeah, we'll just push on, try and minimize mistakes from now on. That's really all we can do, is we can now focus on some proper racing action, as Slash is looking high and low to get past Jester. Jester moves down onto the wet line and gives the racing line to Slash. Slashes through, and just like that, the battle's over. So yeah, Slash back into some clean air, able to push on once more as we top up the fuel tank and get that damage fixed. And we'll be on our way soon enough. But yeah, all we have to play for now is just to minimize mistakes and see if we can keep it clean to the end of the race. If we can do that, I'd still be reasonably happy. Just, you know, learning and improving, basically. That's all I can really try to do at this stage. But yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be so difficult in this car. But yeah, certain parts of the track, combined with the setup and yeah, the way the track's been drying out of that corner, it has made things very tricky. But anyway, Slash is not finding things difficult at all. Slash is continuing the charge and making the move down the inside of Ash into Puon and going side by side through that very corner where we came unstuck. And Slash gets the move done very nicely there and moves up into second position on track. So Slash showing plenty of pace at the moment. Ash not quite giving up though. still in tow, not far behind, so that battle might just continue later on, we'll see. Back on board with myself then, as we head up towards Eau Rouge and Radion once more, and we've got it all wrong there, and we're going to go ploughing into the wall once more, and this is on our first timed lap after our pit stop. We just finished our out lap and we've just stuck it into the wall again, so yeah, what was that about learning? Anyway, it's not too bad this time. It is bent, but it's just something we're going to have to deal with. So anyway, round through the bus stop comes Grenster, and Gren is going to head into the pits for another stop, and Gren will be boxing onto the medium tyres for the next stint. And I suspect there's probably some debate as to, you know, which tyres are going to be better in this race, mediums or softs. For you know, what I mentioned earlier, the softs might not be the way to go because they're just going to wear out too quickly, but we'll see how it goes. Ash diving it into pit lane as well, as Jester follows Ash in. What's not following is the camera there. That was a bit weird, but anyway. Here we go then with Ash coming into the pits, and Ash is going to be moving on to the soft compound tyres for Ash on the Charger there, and Jester in behind will be moving on to the medium compounds. So yeah, a variety of strategies playing out in this one, and it'll be interesting to see what works and what doesn't by the end of the race. But anyway, back out on a circuit with Grenster. Gren rejoins the track in 4th position, so still holding down a decent track position. Hard to really know where everyone is though. You can really only compare drivers on the same strategy because with so many different... Oh, there's a graze with the barrier for us there. I'm not sure if I've crashed in that way before, but anyway. Yeah, hard to know where everyone really is because, you know, different tyres, fuel loads, etc. I think everyone's got the hard tyres out of the way now, but a lot of different strategies playing out as Ash rejoins the circuit in P6, and that leaves Jester behind in P7, so currently towards the back of the running order for these two, but obviously with full tanks of fuel, but some way behind Grenster. Anyway, further up the road we've got Slash, who was briefly right behind us, but Slash comes into the pits for a new set of the soft compound tyres for Slash. Coming in behind Slash, we got Sparrow into the lane as well. Sparrow will be moving on to a set of the medium compound tyres for the next stint. So again, it's going to be interesting to see what the general preference is throughout the rest of the race. Obviously, while it's raining, I think softs will almost always be the way to go. As Ferbs comes into the lane, it's going to be soft compound tyres for Ferbs. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out. As that's a wide moment there on the exit for Slash, and that could be a time penalty for track limits. Indeed it is, and Slash is going to lose a few seconds around the other end of the circuit. So yeah, catching a few people out throughout this race. Sparrow manages to exit pit lane cleanly, as does Ferbs. They now drop into P6 and 7 towards the back of the field. So yeah, that's the current order of things as we go back on board with myself and another just awkward moment there, and yeah, we find the gravel on the in the middle of that chicane. I don't even know how to describe that part of the circuit, to be honest. I've never been there before, but anyway, there's a first for everything apparently in this race. But yeah, we're continuing to struggle with the rear tyres. Even on mediums, we haven't even done that many laps. What is this, the 5th lap on these tyres? And I'm going to be boxing again to get new ones. Slight graze with the pit entry wall, but nothing too serious this time. But yeah, another set of mediums, and I'm going to need to do something about this tyre wear, because it just gets to the point where it's, you know, not comfortable to drive, even if the difference between the fronts and rears isn't that much. As soon as there is, you know, that marginal difference, it it just gets too hard to drive, and very hard to have any confidence in the car. So anyway, we get a new set of tyres on, and we'll start refueling. A long process of refueling. We still had half a tank left as we see Sparrow getting it all twitchy and running it out wide through no-name corner Ferbs with a bit of a run, but chooses to slot in behind for the time being, and they'll battle on later in the race. Here's the on board with Ferbs, and yeah, Sparrow wide, way out in the dirty stuff out there, but comes back on. Ferbs lifts off to not make the overtake there, and chooses to stay behind. So yeah, no overtake there. Into the pits then comes Uncle Pete, and looks like Pete's going to be making another switch to medium compound tyres for the next stint. So yeah, definitely, you know, mixed choices up and down the field between softs and mediums, and I guess for those who can make softs, you know, last for a stint, they're going to be the way to go. But yeah, they're really not good towards the end of a stint. So what actually works out faster is up for debate, depending on how well, you know, you can handle the worn softs, I suppose. But anyway, out of pit lane we come then, and we race on once more. Here's a weird quirk of the pit exit here at Spa. I can watch my own car from the replay cameras on the pit exit, but for everyone else, I'm restricted to the onboard. But anyway, Pete comes out of pit lane as well, down in P7, and just slows up there to obey the blue flags, and carries on. So Uncle Pete doing the right thing there, and got to say that Mach 1 is looking nice and tidy at the moment. Looks pretty stable on some fresh tyres. But anyway, that's not so stable through there. Getting it nice and sideways through the Fenya chicane. Here it is again in slow-mo. Nice and sideways, taking a lot of that inside curb as well, mid-drift, but gets away with it nicely. Anyway, continuing on back with myself, just a little bit deep into Les Combes there, no big deal, and we carry on. But absolutely destroying the curbs and bollards on the way through Malmedy. Into the pit lane then comes Ash for yet another pit stop, and it's going to be the medium compound tyres going on for Ash for another stint. So yeah, Ash choosing to use those tyres as it's getting dark now, so which seemed to happen very quickly between shots there. But yep, it's nighttime now at Spa, and Ash drops into P6. And further up we've got Jester coming into the pits, and Jester will be moving on to a set of the soft compound tyres, so both of them switching to the other compound for this next stint. And yeah, Jester onto the softs for the next part of the race. Into the pits also comes Slash, and we've got Ash getting a bit sideways there through Malmedy. But anyway, back to Slash into the pit box, and Slash will be going on to a set of soft tyres. So Slash, fond of those softs, it's got to be said, in this race, has used them for a large portion of it. As we go back to Sparrow, heading towards the bus stop, going a little bit deep, getting it a bit sideways through there and running wide, but no harm done, should be able to hold on. But Sparrow has Ferbs for company. Typically these two would be both in similar Camaros, but Ferbs opting for the Charger this time around. 3 Chargers on the grid for this round, which is cool to see. One of the well, it's not one of the uncommon cars to see, of course, but certainly, you know, not one of the main obvious choices. You know, like the Camaro and the Boss, which there tend to be multiple of in each race. Only one of each in this one, with the Mach 1 and the Charger having 2 and 3 representatives on the grid. But anyway, we've got Slash out of pit lane again in second position, as further up the road, Grenster leading the way, but into pit lane goes Grenster. Back out on circuit though, Sparrow has Jester for company now. Moves out of the way and doesn't make that one too difficult for Jester. And yeah, drops in behind. So Sparrow maybe not with the pace at the moment. We go on board now with Jester chasing down Ferbs into Puon and goes for the move down the inside into the second part of Puon. That's an unorthodox place to get the move done, but Ferbs stayed off the racing line and gave the apex to Jester there. Into the box then comes Grenster though, and Gren moves on to another set of the medium compound tyres for Gren. Meanwhile, further back we've got Ferbs and Sparrow both heading into the pits, so more pit stops coming for those two, as we got Gren coming back out on circuit in second position after short filling slightly in that stop. So not the full load of fuel, but hoping to gain track position with that one. Into the pits then comes Ferbs, and it's going to be a set of the medium compound tyres going on for Ferbs. Sparrow will be moving on to the softs. Back on board with myself then, and it is time once again for us to come into the pits. This stint has been a little bit better. We've managed things with the tyres. The rears are still worse than the fronts, but we've survived better this time around. And this time we're going to go onto the softs and see how they go. We're slowly, I suppose, getting on top of handling the tyre wear, but yeah, I want to start chasing some lap times and see if I can actually put a decent lap in this race. Just see what I can do, because that's really all we have to fight for at this point. But anyway, Sparrow comes back out onto the circuit in 6th position with a full tank of fuel to go burning up for the next stint. And just in behind is Ferbs, also coming back out on circuit in P7. We'll finish topping up our fuel tank, and after very long stationary time here, it's got to be said, for these pit stops, over a minute. Most of that just refueling, of course, is kind of crazy. But anyway, out of pit lane we come then, and again, nice and careful on the pit exit, because it's very tricky to get this wrong. But hopefully we'll be okay, and get back out on circuit cleanly, which we do, and we'll push on again in this race down in P8, of course, still. But yeah, we'll see if we can maybe go for personal best. Anyway, meanwhile, that is a move Jester getting past Gren, so that's not a situation that the title contender Grenster can afford. Jester getting the move done there, and on the soft compound tyres, Gren on the mediums at the moment, I believe, and that could be the reason Jester's finding more pace. So Gren might have to try out those soft compound tyres to get back into this race. We'll see. But anyway, meanwhile, we're having our own moment at Eau Rouge Gradion Complex, getting through the grass there. But anyway, into the pits goes the Furbinator there, and we've also got Jester coming into the pits as well. So clearly the tyres on that car having seen better days, those soft tyres not lasting, of course, potentially. But Ferbs into the pits, and it's going to be the soft compound tyres going on for Ferbs, and the medium tyres will go on for Jester. So switching again to the opposite compound. So it seems to be a bit of that going on, trying both compounds, see what works, what doesn't. But yeah, it seems like a difficult choice to choose whether the softs or the mediums are the way to go. But anyway, next up to make the choice is Ash heading into the pits. We'll see how that plays out shortly. But out on circuit, Ferbs gets going again, down in 7th position. So yeah, running down towards the back, as we've also got Uncle Pete just being tailed by Sparrow at the moment. Pete leaves it high and wide. Sparrow goes through at the Fania chicane. Here's the on board with Sparrow. Pete well out of the way, and Sparrow able to get cleanly through. So yeah, Nice and easy between those two as we go back to Ash, who is heading into the pit box, and it's going to be a set of the soft compound tyres going on for Ash for the next stint, so we'll see if that ends up being a good choice or not. But we've also got Uncle Pete heading through the bus stop now, and Uncle Pete diving off into pit lane as well, so more pieces of the strategy puzzle slowly falling into place as Uncle Pete brings it into the box, and it's also a set of soft compound tyres for Uncle Pete. So yeah, the soft tyres will definitely be the right choice as the wipers are on for Jester there heading out of pit lane, so definitely those who have just put the soft tyres on have made a very good call to use those in the wet conditions. Ash comes out of pits as well. Jester was 4th, Ash in P5 after that latest stop. So those two will continue to battle on. They're spread apart at the moment as we dive into pit lane ourselves, and we're going to be just replacing our softs with some fresh ones for the rain. Essentially, this stint hasn't even been going on that long, but our tyres have already seen better days, so yeah, we're definitely going to be replacing those ones and putting a fresh set of softs on for the rain, just so we have as much confidence and grip as we possibly can. So here we go then. We're back on board with Sparrow here into the bus stop, and Sparrow again struggling to bring the car to a stop there, but manages to recover reasonably quickly. But yeah, the tricky conditions have certainly returned, and Uncle Pete has also returned to the circuit after that latest pit stop. Pete down in P7. Our pit stop's finally done, and we can get going once more for another stint on the soft compound tyres, which hopefully should last quite a while now that the rain is coming down again. That should hopefully allow us to protect these tyres fairly well, but we'll see if we can once again survive the pit exit. You can see Uncle Pete just coming out of pit lane in front of us actually there, but anyway. We think we just cut the inside there, and there's our first pit exit penalty of the race as we get a little bit sideways on the grass there. But yeah, shame for us there. But anyway, we've got Slash coming into the pits from the race lead, and that was Ash right behind. So Ash was for a while a lap off the lead, and Jester was pretty close as well. But we've got Gren a little bit deep into the bus stop, but Grenster coming into the pits as well. This is what we want to see, the championship contenders and the main contenders in this race coming into the pits at the same time. This will, if they both do a full refill, this should reset the strategy between them, and we'll see where they truly are relative to each other on track. That was Slash making the switch to the soft compound tyres, and Grenster will be doing the same. Soft compound tyres going for Gren, and it'll be a straight fight between these two. Back on board with myself as we have that penalty to serve, and a big slide there, and a full spin, and we just lightly graze the wall, flick it back around, and we'll carry on. Thankfully, no damage from that one, and yeah, that was just an awkward spin for us there. As well, I certainly can't blame Tyrewear for that one, I'll put it that way. But yeah, with the rain now moving away, the track will start to dry up, and we'll have some tricky dry lines to follow once more, like what caught us out earlier. But anyway, on board then with Ash making the move on Jester, and got that one done nice and cleanly, as that's Grenster out of pit lane in the race lead with Slash behind, so the positions have reversed. Grenster has a penalty at the moment, but yeah, Slash dropping into P2 and losing the relative race lead to Gren, and they both filled up to a full tank. So there is no fuel advantage one way or the other. That is Grenster into the race lead through strategy alone there, as we have a big moment towards the bus stop, just running wide through Blanchimont, and it escalated as we got closer to the braking zone. And yeah, that was very much not ideal. We've put a braking marker there in the middle of the track. But yeah, that was a big one. But thankfully no contact with any walls or barriers or other cars of any kind. But yeah, just lost it as I come back onto the track and prepared for the corner. That was a weird one. And then yeah, got reset, saw the blue flags coming, and just made sure we're out of the way. But yeah, that was a weird one. But anyway, we carry on and see if we can stay out of trouble next time round. But yeah, we've left the braking marker board in the middle of the track there now, as we watch on with Grenster, and Slash is looking a bit closer there in the background, and has definitely closed up some margin through the bus stop there, and Borderline is looking for the move down the inside. Gren's going to cover that one off to make sure there's no opportunity down the inside, but Slash looking to the outside, no way through there. Maybe a switchback through turn 1. Not going to try that one, as the battle is going to rage on all the way up towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Very difficult to follow through these corners in close proximity to another car, so it'll be interesting to see how Slash handles this one, as Grenster leads the way up the hill, and a huge chunk of shortcut there for Gren, but gets away with it without a penalty, so exactly the right amount, I suppose, as Slash is still just following in the slipstream, not able to do anything just yet, as Sparrow gets a little sideways into the final complex once more. Ash gets through around the outside of the final corner. Another pair of headlights closing in as well, as Jester might also be able to take advantage of this one. Sparrow still slow on the inside line there. Jester goes blazing on through, and Sparrow will carry on behind. But anyway, as we continue on then, back with Slash and Gren, as the battle continues between these two. Grenster still leading the way at the moment, and remember, it's winner takes all between these two, so whoever comes out on top in this battle over the course of the rest of the race will win the championship. Strategy is equalized again between these two, so this is a genuine race for position, for first position, and for the championship. So it is all to play for between these two at the moment, as Gren continues to just hold it steady and is doing enough to keep Slash at bay. Back on board with Sparrow then through Blanchimont, and a massive moment there, and a good save, and it keeps going on the exit. Nicely done, and Sparrow able to keep things pointing in the right direction with a big slide there, and that's a different one there for Uncle Pete having a moment as well. Here's the replay with Uncle Pete. We're slowing this one down, and there was about 10 different direction changes through this whole sequence, left and right, seesawing away through Blanchimont, and then gets it all lined up for the next straight. Well done, Uncle Pete, and that was a good save. Back then to Grenster, who has actually put a bit of a margin now to Slash as they head through Eau Rouge and Radion once more, so Grenster might have just weathered the storm there and able to pull away now. We'll see how it all plays out as we see Sparrow coming through the bus stop chicane once again, and Sparrow's going to peel off into the pits for what will more than likely be the final time in this race. So Sparrow comes in, and it's going to be a set of soft compound tyres going on for Sparrow for a short run to the checkered flag on those ones. And also coming towards the bus stop, we've got Ferbs coming through, and Ferbs will also peel off into the pit lane. And just like Sparrow, we'll come in for a set of soft compound tyres for a short run to the end. Maybe go for some fast laps and or get racy with each other, we'll see. But Sparrow is going to come out of pit lane in 5th position. Ferbs a little bit further back in P7, so yeah, certainly not going to be racing each other. Uncle Pete is in between them somewhere though, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, back on board with myself as we head into the bus stop chicane, and we're going to box as well late in this one with really only 3 laps to go if we didn't box. But I need to. I've only got 2 laps of fuel left, so we do need to box and get some more fuel in, otherwise I will not make it to the end. It's as simple as that, as Uncle Pete drifts once again through the Fania chicane, but into the box we come then, and of course we're going to be going on to a set of soft compound tyres to the end. It's so close to the end of the race, we're not even going to bother worrying about tyre wear in this final stint, as Slash is also coming into the pits. So Slash has given up the chase on Granster and is opting to maybe go for the fastest lap instead. So Slash into the box, and a fresh set of soft compound tyres going on for Slash, maybe to go for a fastest lap, but no fuel going in. So yeah, unless Slash has some more fuel in reserve, it won't be a full fuel map 1 push lap. I'm not sure what the gap is between Slash and Ash and Jester behind, so maybe there was a limitation there, but yeah, I can't imagine trying to go for a fastest lap without the full use of all the fuel you can possibly use. But anyway, we come out of pits once again in this race, and we'll blaze on to the end and see if we can set a flying lap of our own. Of course, I don't think I'll be going for the fastest lap of the race, but if I can better my qualifying time, I'd be pretty happy with that. So we'll see what we can do. But anyway, we go on board with Slash coming out of the pits, and yeah, we'll see what Slash can do. But yeah, Slash remains in second position, so yeah, no threat from behind in terms of losing track position. So yeah, we'll see what Slash can do on those brand new soft tyres, if there's going to be a chance to set a fastest lap of the race. Jester goes for the move down the inside of Ash, who is the current holder of the fastest lap of the race. Ash gets a nice switch back there and retakes third position. So yeah, third place, not enough to be in the championship fight for Ash, but a podium would still be a nice way to finish off what has been a tricky season at times for the Season 2 champion. But the winner last time out at the Nürburgring, holding on to third place at the moment. Jester tucked in behind, just in the slipstream, doing a bit of bump drafting along the Kemmel Straight, giving Ash a little bit of a boost along towards Les Combes. But at the moment, Ash holding on strong to P3. The 2 Chargers flying in formation, fighting for that bottom step of the podium. There's another Charger back here, the non-engine swap version, in the hands of Ferbs, but that's Pete running wide at P1, and Ferbs follows Uncle Pete off the road. So yeah, an awkward little moment there. Looks like Ferbs has been able to close that margin, so with a later final stop is finding more grip at the moment. Uncle Pete's tyres might be starting to go off. Meanwhile, Jester and Ash continue the battle. Ash wide at P1 now, and Jester might use the opportunity to get down the inside. Jester goes through, Ash drops into P4. So if there was any dwindling hope of the championship, it's probably gone now for Ash, as Jester moves up into third, and with just moments left in the race, Ash loses the podium. Back on board with myself then, as we head into the bus stop chicane. This has been a pretty rubbish lap, but it is our first time lap on new soft tyres in Fuel Map 1, and it is going to be a personal best lap, and we're into the 39s, but I was hoping for a bit more than that. I want to beat my lap time from qualifying and get into the 37s. If I can do that, that would be absolutely fantastic, but we'll see how it goes. We are getting blue flagged on what will be our final lap of the race, so I'll try and delay that as long as possible. Here's the onboard with Slash, who is coming to the line now, and it's only a personal best lap, not a fastest lap. Ash's time sticks, and for Slash, it's not even close. As we go on board with Gren, look at those tyres for Gren in the bottom left. They are dead. On board with a few of the others down the field. We'll scroll through the whole list. Ash is on dead tyres as well, so there's a few walking wounded at the end of this one. It explains why Ash was struggling, and same with Uncle Pete. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult for the likes of Uncle Pete, Ash and Gren to get to the end of this race. But for Uncle Pete, it's all over now, because that is the finish line. Pete's the first to cross it, and it's going to be P6 for Uncle Pete. P7 for Ferbs, and Jester crosses the line to take P3. and a podium finish here at Spa. So a nice way to finish the season for Jester, as we are improving by almost a second and a half just to the first sector. So we could get a 37 if we can put this lap together. We'll have to try and stay ahead of these blue flags. No one's too close to us at the moment, but as Ash comes across the line, it's going to be P4 for Ash, and confirmation that Ash will not become a two-time champion today. It's all down to Gren and Slash. At the moment, Gren has the upper hand, but you can see Gren struggling for grip as we're on board with Sparrow, who's making the move, and this is Sparrow getting back onto the lead lap essentially, but not a past 4 position, but you can see the grip difference there. Sparrow will come through the bus stop then for the final time to take 5th position. Gren goes very deep into the final chicane, but it's going to be P5 for Sparrow, and a running theme of the season, 3 5th place finishes for Sparrow. Here's a replay of what happened to Gren at the final corner, and yeah, just a little bit deep there, but only a few seconds lost in that. But round the final corner comes Gren, and a little weave and drift to the line, because Grenster is the Season 5 champion, race winner at Spa, and the only repeat winner of the season. What an awesome run from Grenster, and not a single front row start to his name, as I keep saying. Awesome stuff. On board with myself though, and we're still improving on our previous lap. We've got Slash coming up on us though, so of all people, I know Slash is also going for the fastest lap, so in the end I had to bail out on what was easily going to be my best lap of the race, so little disappointed, but anyway, we let Slash go, and we'll see if Slash can improve, but I don't think Slash has the fuel to burn to be able to set a flying lap. But round the final corner comes Slash. It's going to be P2 for Slash, not only in the race but in the championship as well. Not a bad first season for Slash, and we'll round out the finishes in 8th. And there we have it. The final race of Trans Am Season 5 comes to an end. Oof. Well, that one was pretty rough, but anyway, it was. If I did a bit more testing before the race and you know, found a better balance with the ballast and the tyre wear, that could have made things a little easier, because that's ultimately what a lot of the issues came down to. But it is what it is, and it was definitely a useful learning experience in terms of how to drive in the rain and how to manage the tyres. But anyway, yeah, it certainly was not a pointless exercise. But let's take a look at the championship standings, because Grenster, with a run of 2 wins and 2 second places, is enough to take the championship with 126 points, just 1 clear of Slash, who sits on 125 with a lot more scattered results, but and a lot more bonus points too, that being said. But yeah, actually, in fact, every round since Suzuka, Slash has taken one of the bonus points, 2 poles and 2 fastest laps. So there you go, a lot of pace, but just not the consistency of Grenster, and ultimately not that second race victory that would have been required. But yeah, 1 point was all that separated them. 117 points, just 9 points adrift for Ash. A solid run to 3rd in the championship, 2 podiums, along with one of those being a race victory. Jester, with a nice triple star to kick off the season, was good enough to ultimately secure 4th in the standings with another podium at the end. So 111 points for Jester. Rounding out the top 5, Nanotto with around 100 points. 92 points for Sparrow, 90 for Ferbs in P7, P8 for Uncle Pete, a personal best in the championship standings, I believe, for Uncle Pete on 86 points. 82 points for Artsy, not bad for 3 races. And then myself rounding out the regulars of the season on 70 points. Further down the order, we got Jokin, who scored 50 points from 2 races. Ando, who used the been there, won that approach. 1 race, 1 victory, 1 triple star performance to secure 35 points, enough for 12th in the standings. And then Wolf with another good one-off performance, 31 points, pole position and a second place finish at Suzuka. 28 points for Heafy with a pair of 14 point results there. Wallace and J-Dog both on 16 points, but Wallace ahead due to it being a larger field. That's the logic I used for those two. But I still remember that battle with Wallace at the Red Bull Ring. That was one of my highlights of the season. 12 points for Porsche, 10 for Gio, and 8 for Matt in their one-off performances as well. So there you go. That is how everyone stacks up at the end of Season 5. Anyway, let's take a look at the statistics for the season and see what stands out. Jester scored more points than anyone else across the 6 rounds. Of course, only the best 4 results count, which is why this all got shuffled around. But yeah, Jester with 150 points, 149 for Slash from one less round, no less. So yeah, great season from Slash. But yeah, a good spread of winners, 5 in total, and yeah, with a decent spread of podium finishes as well. No one stole all the podium places. There was 4 for both Gran and Slash, but no more than 2 for anyone else. And then what else? Slash definitely owned the fastest laps and poles statistics. The only one to get 2 of each. Everyone else only had 1, I believe. Jester had 2 fastest laps, but there you go. But yeah, I don't think that anything else really stands out too much. But yeah, Grandster 2 wins, 4 podiums, no bonus points, enough to seal the deal in the championship. I guess the other thing that stands out on this list is how far down Endo is, having taken a race victory. 12th place is probably the lowest a race winner has ever finished in a Trans Am championship. But anyway, the last thing to note here is that we had no less than 19 different drivers take part this season. Alrighty then, let's take a look at the driver statistics then combined from all seasons. Jester's scored almost 800 points, although John Teeter still dominates the overall wins tally with 11. That's just crazy. Next best is Ash on 5 wins, and after that it's Grandster on 3. So, yeah, it's pretty clear who's done all the winning over the seasons, but John Teeter not showing up to this one has dropped into 3rd in this little list. And on that note, on this list, this little list, we've got 29 drivers listed now. So yeah, there's a lot of drivers have given Trans Am a go over the seasons. But anyway, we've never had more than half of them at any one time. 14, the record at the moment. And finally, on to the car statistics then. And the boss is now at the top of the charts with, well, the same number of race victories as the Camaro, but with more podiums to its name by a factor of more than 50% more. But that said, it does have a lot more entries as well. So I suppose you could argue the Camaro has a higher winning rate from entries. But anyway, let's not overcomplicate this. The Trans Am sits 3rd in the tally, one of 2 cars with 3 victories, the other being the Chevelle. All of those victories coming this season, and then the Pantera still holding down 5th place despite only being seen in Season 1. But 2 wins and 9 podiums. It was a solid haul of results for just one season for that car. The Charger as well, finally getting its second race victory this season. The BOP Chevy Nova we just ignore. In the C2, the other car, or in the Ferrari, the other cars that have won more than one race. But yeah, the Challenger still has not taken a pole position. That's the standout of that car. The Cobra, again, a car we sadly are not able to use anymore. Corvette Stingray with a race win. Didn't see too much of that car. Or haven't seen too much of that car, really. It's only been entered 8 times in Trans Am, full stop. A lot more, though, than the Shelby GT350. Only 3 entries, but it does have a win to its name, but no pole position for that car either. And then conversely, the Ford Mustang Mach-1 finally has a pole position and a fastest lap and a podium, but no race victory yet for that car. It's the only car with a podium and no race win, except for the Miura, I suppose. But we can't drive that one anymore either, because of course we now have US cars only. But the Judge is probably the most likely car, if any, to one day see a podium. That would be awesome to see next season if someone could get that thing up into the top 3. Because I think it's been a long time coming for the Judge. It's a car that's been driven very well on a few occasions, but it's just never quite made it to that 3rd step. So that'd be cool to see one day. The Superbird, probably the best of the absolute rubbish cars, along with the Super B. And the Corvette convertible, I think, is probably capable of a lot more in the right hands too. That currently has the best result way back in Season 1 in Heafy's hands back at Laguna. And Heafy actually still holds a qualifying record of that car. The worst of any of the current cars in qualifying, with P7, so I'm sure someone could beat that. The Chevy Nova, I think, is definitely capable of more as well, in the right hands on the right day. But anyway, that rounds out all of the currently legal cars. Then there's just all the other stuff I used in Season 1, mostly at the rounding off the list. So yeah, that officially brings Trans Am Season 5 to a close. So not much else to say other than thank you so much for watching all the way to the end and listening to me ramble about all these numbers. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the comments, it's always very helpful. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye.
Nothing left to fear through the drifts and power slides that will keep us steady pace through the curtains of the mist. They will never quit the chase. Racing through the stars on this final open fly. Gods of speed and fire, they'll light up the night sky. Hurry's wings of speed, speak secrets with the wind. STS flame burning warm, gliding close to kin. As they cross the finish line and the world fades away, it's the end of the race. This metallic ballet in the aftermath glow, where time begins to slow. Timeless bonds are forged from the front to back row. Metallic ballet in the aftermath glow, where time begins to slow. Timeless bonds are forged from the front to back row. Racing through the stars on this final epic fly. Gods of speed and fire, they'll light up the night sky. Hurry's wings of speed, speak secrets with the wind. STS flame running warm, driving close to kin. With the Libyan gods united, they race with immoral might. In this fight we should have muscle, chasing through the night. So let the engines thunder, let the fuel ignite. In the glow of the finish line, they'll take their final flight. gods united, they race with immortal might in this fiery showdown of muscle, chasing through the night. So let the engines thunder, let the fuel ignite. In the glow of the finish line, they'll take their final flight.